And we're going to use our planning page. Okay, so we're going to work on a planning page. And let's get it set up. Okay, so you want to set your page up like this every time. You're going to have your prompt at the top. Let me give myself 3 lines for that. And then over here, you're going to have a capital B, a capital W, and a capital A. And the B has 2 lines, the W has 3, and the A has 2. On this side of the page, you're going to have your do what. And then, under the BWA, you're going to write think, exclamation point, what do I already know? That's where you're going to put your background information. Across from that, you're going to put your W, and you're going to write T-A-G over here. Down here near the bottom of the page, you're going to have your TC, and then at the very bottom, you're going to have your TS. Okay, so that's it for setting up your page. It should look like this, and you are ready. Okay, so before we do anything, we're going to put our prompt up here. And our prompt is to describe the effects of the oil spill on the penguins and the rescue efforts that followed. And it goes on to say, support your response with information from both sources. And what that means is that you need to have evidence from both articles. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the B in the BWA. This is before you read, okay? So you want to find out what your purpose is for reading. And if you see a prompt, you're going to stop and go right to the do what, which we see a prompt. So our purpose for reading is going to be to answer the prompt. And we are going to do our do what. So what is this prompt asking us to do? Well, I see some words here. It's asking me to describe the effects of the oil spill on the penguins and the rescue efforts that follow. So my do here is going to be describe. It's asking me to describe. What is it asking me to describe? The effects of oil spill on penguins. It's also asking me to describe the rescue efforts that followed. Well, that's what it's asking me to do. It's asking me to describe the effects of the oil spill on the penguins, and it's asking me to describe the rescue efforts that followed. So this right here, the what in my do what, is the heart of my essay. That's what I'm going to be answering. So my first B is checked off because that's what I do before I read. My second B is to activate some prior knowledge. So what do I already know about penguins? And I'm going to put that down here. I know that they're black and white. Birds. I think they live in Antarctica. I know that they do not fly. I know that they swim, and they live in cold places. That's about all I know about penguins. I also know they lay eggs, so they don't hatch their babies, so I'm going to write eggs here. All right. So that is my second B in before I read. So I can put a check mark here too. So my first B is my purpose. And my second check mark in B is prior knowledge. Got those both checked off. That's great. Okay, so my W. Let's think about what my first W is. My first W is while I'm reading. So this B is before. This is while you're reading. And while I'm reading, I want to underline important details. So I'm going to go to my text, and I am going to actually read through it line by line, and I'm going to ask myself, does this have anything to do with the effects of the oil spill on the penguins? If it does, I'm going to underline it. If it describes the rescue efforts, I'm also going to underline that. So we're going to go through the text line by line and underline. That's our first W. And I'm going to make that underline. My second W is my gist. And I'm going to do that over here. And that is who did what, where, when, and why. This is my gist over here. I'm going to answer those questions. Or I know now I can use tag. And tag is title, author, and then a short gist statement. And you can pick either one. Sometimes it's clear that you want to use this one. Sometimes you may think, oh, the tag works better. It's kind of whatever you want to do. And that's my second W that I'm going to do while I'm reading. I'm going to look for my gist. And my last W has to do with vocabulary. And we can use those vocabulary strategies that we learned. How are we going to learn our unknown vocabulary? Then, my A, which is after I read. Oh, dogs are barking. After I read, I am going to star or underline the best evidence for my thinking map. So after I read, I am going to star best evidence. And the last A down here, my last part of it is to create a thinking map. One thing that I really like about this, and our page is getting pretty filled up, is if you look at the B, the W, and the first A, it almost looks like the letter P. So if I were to circle the B and the W and the first A, it almost looks like the letter P. And we know that that letter P is the first part of our POW. And this last check mark down here looks like an O when I circle it, and I know that the O is my thinking map. The O is my tide map. Okay, so now what is this TC and this TS down here? Well, we know that TC is topic context, and that is our gist statement. And we're going to use our www or tag to create our gist, and we'll talk more about that. And then our TS is our, you guys say, your restate. I like to call it the what in my do what. And an answer to the prompt. Okay. I think that, well, that's it for right about now. I am going to I'm going to come back in a minute and talk about a few more things that we're going to add in here, and we'll talk about how we use some of these things. Okay, so let's talk about where in my actual writing might I use some of this information. And you don't have to use it in these locations, but think about this. What do you already know? Well, this is stuff that's coming from your thinking, right? And I have my thought bubble right here. Where in our writing do we use the thought bubble? I think I hear somebody saying it. You use it in your detailed examination. So this, think, what do I already know? This could be useful for you in your detailed examination. Now, where do I use this part? The tag or the www? Well, I think I already said that we use that in the topic context. All right, let's talk about the do what. The do what we can use in a couple of different places. We can use it in our topic statement. We can also use it in our important evidence. Okay, so now that I've created this big giant planning page, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to use this information and create some kind of a thinking map. I like a tree map. You don't have to use a tree map, but I'm going to show you how I set up my tree map. For this question, I would use my what. So I have described the effects of the oil spill and described the rescue efforts. So if I'm thinking about my tree map, I would set it up like this. At the top of my tree map, I would have my TC and my TS, my topic context and my topic statement. And I might say C pre-organizer. Just to remind me that all of that information is in my gist, and I have it written at the bottom of my pre-organizer. Then I would have my regular tree map. And I like to have one branch on the tree for each paragraph that I'm going to have. So for this answer, I think I'm going to have 3 paragraphs. And I think each of my first 2 paragraphs, actually each of all 3 of my paragraphs, are going to be about effects. And what am I describing? So I'm going to go back to my do what. I'm describing the effects of the oil spill, and I'm describing the rescue efforts. So I want effects of oil spill, effects of rescue efforts. Okay, so I'm going to say that because my prompt is telling me that I need to take information from both sources, I'm going to use article number 1 for this paragraph, article number 2 for this paragraph, and I'm going to use a mix of both for that paragraph that talks about the rescue efforts. So this is what my pre-organizer might look like. And then underneath, I would have some important evidence and detailed examination for each. There again, my evidence is coming from the book, and my detailed examination is coming from my head, my own thinking. And then down here at the bottom of my page on my thinking map, I would have my ending. And I just like to put my ending down here at the bottom. And my ending, like we talked about, would have a restate of my TS. And I'm also going to answer the so what is important about this, or so why is this important? Okay. So that kind of sums up what it's going to look like. I know it sounds like a lot of information, and if we look at this page, it looks really busy. This is a really well planned out answer. We'll talk more about it in class.